Hello everyone, I'm Lucy Fanger, CEO of On Technology Partners, and I'm proud to be sponsoring our new program, Women STaRs. In each episode, we will spotlight an amazing woman and the struggles and triumphs that she has faced. Then we will reflect and share her insights. Our goal is to engage, entertain, and explore the women STaRs in our world today. I hope you enjoy.
I want to thank all of you for listening today. My name is Shanti Harkness, and I'm the Media Manager for On Technology Partners, a woman-owned company addressing cybersecurity and risk. Join us as we share the reflections of women just like you that have survived struggles and embraced triumphs in their lives. Today, we'll be talking with Nancy Hammervik. As Executive Vice President, Industry Relations for CompTIA, Nancy Hammervik is responsible for elevating the association's profile among its membership and across the IT industry. She's the principal liaison between members and the association, helps to shape CompTIA's educational and networking programs, initiatives, and standards for technology businesses and workforce professionals, and acts as an advocate on behalf of CompTIA's members and the industry. Most recently, Nancy expanded her role to lead the launch of the CompTIA Tech Career Academy. As CEO of CompTIA Tech, Nancy will head up program development and industry outreach aimed at helping individuals, especially from diverse populations, receive the education and training needed to land tech jobs. As she works to encourage youth and adults to consider tech careers, Nancy will be sharing her passion that rewarding careers in tech are available to all. Nancy, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Shanti. It's very nice to be here and talk with you. And I want to thank to all the listeners out there, too, for listening in.
Thank you so much. So before we begin, tell us something that others may not know about you or something exciting about yourself.
So I think something interesting is my married name is Hammervik. I'm married more than 30 years now, and I married a first-generation American. His dad was born in Norway, and I have a Norwegian heritage myself. My mom's family was from southern Norway. Complete coincidence that two Norwegians got together in America. We actually met in a bar, but I look very Scandinavian, blonde hair, blue eyes, and my husband asked me if by any chance I was Norwegian, and I was. And he shared with me that his dad was one of 11 born in the town of Hammervik, Norway, and the only one to come to America. And turned out we got married and we had an opportunity to go to Hammervik in Norway, which is on the island of Freya off the coast of Trondheim, Norway, just inside the Arctic Circle. And it was a really incredible experience. My husband's father left Norway at 16 and had been gone for 40 years. They had actually lost touch with him and lost track with him, and we were able to reconnect him with his family. And we had a wonderful wedding reception in Hammervik, where my husband overnight realized he had more than 100 relatives and, and 60 cousins and a whole family that looked just like him. And we've had an opportunity to go back to Hammervik several times, and some of the Hammerviks have actually been to New York. So I really enjoy and celebrate that Norwegian heritage.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. So we know that triumphs don't come without their struggles, right? Tell us a little bit about what some of your biggest struggles have been. This can be either professionally or personally, and how you were able to get through them and what kind of an impact they had on your life or career.
Yeah, so I am going to share something very personal because I think that there's probably a lot of women out there that go through this, and I always want to be honest and genuine in our struggles so we can help each other. But it took me a long time to have my son. We were married 10 years and we tried for 10 years to have a baby, which was a really long time. At the same time that I was building my career. And so this was almost 25 years ago, where it was something you didn't talk about as much, going for treatments to help, having a child. And I went through it all. And after 10 years, we had a beautiful, almost 11-pound son, who's now one of my greatest joys. But that was a struggle for me. And I'm always willing to talk to any woman about it because I think we really have to support each other and give each other the resources and help to, navigate that. On a professional level, I would say that one of my greatest struggles happened very early in my career. I was super motivated. I was the only one in my family or the first one in my family to go to college. And I wanted big business. I grew up on Long Island, and my parents would take us into New York City often. And my dad always told me a story when I was very little, maybe 4 or 5 years old, and I was looking at all the skyscrapers and I was asking, what are all those buildings? And my dad said that they were called skyscrapers. And I'm like, what's happening in those skyscrapers? And he said, big business. And like at that age, I knew I want to be in those skyscrapers. I want to do big business, right? And so that was my goal and my dream. And I went to college and I majored in business and I graduated and I was ready to take on the world. And it was still difficult in the early 80s for women to kind of break into big business, right? And so you had to start as a receptionist or an assistant. And I actually refused so many job offers or didn't pursue jobs because I thought I did not go to college for 4 years to be a receptionist or an assistant. And I finally learned, okay, you have to pay your dues and you need to start there. But I was a very good receptionist and I was a very good sales assistant. And I started applying for the senior sales jobs or the management jobs and wasn't getting them. And part of the reason was because I was so good with what I was doing, the management didn't want to disrupt things and they were bringing people out, from the outside and over me, and got kind of frustrating. And in that role, I was in marketing and media for the tech industry. I've been in the tech industry nearly my entire career. I worked for a media company. We had more than 11 magazines. I suggested cooperative mailings, these card packs that I had seen where vendors and technology manufacturers could put an offer in a cooperative card deck, these 3x5 cards that were business response. So you might have 50 opportunities and offers and shrink wrapped card pack. And I suggested to my manager, why don't we do that for the magazines that we have? And he's like, well, I don't know if that'll work. And I'm like, I'll build it, I'll sell it, I'll do everything. And this was as a sales assistant. And super successful. Within a year, these card packs, every magazine wanted to have one. We were billing more than $1 million. He was taking a lot of credit for it. I wasn't getting, a lot of recognition for it. And around that time, I got married and I went on my honeymoon to Hammervik and came back 3 weeks later and they had hired a manager to run the card pack business. And I was so upset. And I was talking to a very good friend that was at work. She was a little older than me and became, she's a mentor and a coach, somebody that we all need. And I was complaining about my position, how I kept getting passed over for opportunity. And now somebody took this great opportunity from me. And she said, I'm sick and tired of hearing you complain. Go to HR and find yourself another position. To HR, I was not raised like that, where I would really push myself forward, or I would, be difficult or be a complainer. But I went down to the human resource offices and I said, I need to leave that department. I'm not being given an opportunity. And through that, they placed me again in another sales assistant role. But this time there was a female manager who really supported me, and very quickly, I started getting promoted to sales assistant and then manager of the department and on. But I learned a lot from both of those struggles, both the personal and the professional. Like, one, never give up. Always, give it your best and, just keep trying at it. And you need to surround yourself with people that care and people that are going to listen to you and help you and encourage you and sometimes give you the tough love you need to kind of push you over some obstacles you might set for yourself. So I learned on that professional level that doing good work sometimes is not enough, and you have to be your best advocate. You can't rely on anybody else to grow your career. You need to take ownership of that and accountability for that. And you can't assume that everybody's going to do the right thing. Everybody's motivated by their own agenda, right? And so you have to look at yourself and you have to have a voice and you have to push a little bit.
And I think you kind of answered my next question, which was going to be, did you have any tips or tricks that you used to get through those challenging times? Did you have anything additional that you wanted to add to that?
Well, always, I'm very blessed that I haven't had real significant struggles in my life. But anytime that things are tough, I'm a really positive person by nature. I mean, almost to the point where it can be annoying for people around me, but I always look at the glass half full. I'm always hopeful that nothing lasts forever. I always think of like this too shall pass. And I've learned that we grow so much we grow more in the tough times and the struggles.
Absolutely.
Anybody can be successful when the road is rosy, right? But they say all the time that builds diamonds and struggles build strength. And if it wasn't for the struggles, like whenever I'm going through it, I'm thinking, what am I learning from this? How am I getting better? What skills am I sharpening? Like, we don't know our strength until we really get hit by a struggle. And that only motivates you more, inspires you more, and helps you appreciate when things are good. It's that much sweeter. Like, so trying 10 years, to have a baby, let me tell you something, every woman is happy when they have a baby, but I think my entire network around me, like, just was shouting for joy when I finally had that beautiful boy, right? And like, sometimes it's not, the other thing that I've learned in life that you really have to understand is sometimes you don't get what you want, but it's really true that you get what you need. I just really do believe that all things work for good, and it's all part of the journey. And if we can just take stock of, what we're learning and how we're growing, and it's not always the destination, but it's the journey, right? And so, like, even in the struggles, just know it's not going to last forever. You have to be resilient. You have to be faithful. And that's a big part of it too. I have to be honest, like when you asked about tips and tricks, I am a faithful person. Maybe that's not everybody, but for me, sometimes I just have to let go and let God and know that all things are going to work for good. And I just have to trust the process and take the positives that are coming out of it. Like, even through this pandemic now, it has been so tough. But I've been sharing in my work and my opportunity the silver linings that are coming out of it. And it's just all how we look at things. Like, we could choose to be defeated or, and let it define us, or we can choose to redefine ourselves and what's happening, right? So stay positive. It'll pass. And just know that you're learning and growing in the process.
Wow. There's so many fantastic things that you just kind of crammed into that response.
Yeah,
it's just so, like, I'm not even sure what to say in response to that, other than there are so many powerful words of wisdom in your response. It's phenomenal. And I love how you mentioned that the struggles make you stronger. I was told this wonderful analogy of Olympic hurdlers, for example. When they're training, they're trained to use the hurdle to make them stronger, to make them faster. So every time they jump a hurdle, they get faster. It doesn't slow them down. And so just like in life, we need to change our perspective and to use our struggles and our challenges as a way to learn and grow and reflect and make us stronger so that we can tackle the next obstacle that might be coming our way.
Love that. So true. I mean, this is how we teach our children too, right? They have to learn from their mistakes. Like, if we keep making it easy for them and removing the obstacles and all like that, how do they grow? How do they develop their skills and their response mechanisms and their coping skills and all like that? So just keep thinking. I love that analogy on the hurdles. Struggles make you stronger. It's so true. Yeah, love
Absolutely. And another thing that you mentioned that reminds me of something that I heard recently. You mentioned being a glass half full kind of a person. And I recently heard, and I'm not sure who the quote is from, but it was essentially, people that are glass half full or glass half empty are missing the point. The glass is refillable.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great.
I do. I really like that. And like, that's what I say all the time. Like, they also say like a dead end street is just a place to turn around, right? Like
Ooh,
never think that's a quote from Winona, one of my favorite country artists, right? But that's in
I
the
like it.
things that I love, right? But I've gotten to the point in my life that I know that it all works out. And oftentimes, and I mentor a lot of people, and, I love to encourage other people. And I tell them all the time, like, we have no idea how this struggle might be preparing us for something greater or better. And now I am so thankful for that manager that was so selfish and only thinking about his own needs, right? And wasn't worried about me. If he did not manage me that way, I don't think I would have ever learned how important it was to find the courage to speak up and represent myself and be an advocate for myself. And it was early enough in my career that I kept that with me my whole career, that what mattered to me was the way I was treated, appreciated, recognized. And if I was in an environment that was not doing that for me, that I had to change that environment. Yeah. My Norwegian grandmother used to say, if you can't change the people, change the people. So, I have to put myself in a different situation. If, some people you can't change and you can't control, right? But you can always control yourself in a situation and pivot it. So yeah, learned a lot from that experience very early on.
Excellent, excellent words of advice. Thank you. Now let's take a moment and focus on your biggest triumph. Can you share what that triumph was and what made it so great for you?
Oh, wow. So I am really very fortunate and very blessed that I've had a long career in tech. And I have a lot of great memories of a lot of great wins and successes. And I've been behind a lot of launches. And I've grown my career from receptionist to a CEO title, which is just amazing. But I think I'd have to say my greatest triumph aligns with what really motivates me and what I find most rewarding about my career. And that's the ability to have an impact on others and add value. So I would have to say it was the launch of an initiative called Channel at Work at my previous employer. So I was with C&P Media, eventually was acquired by United Business Media, for 25 years. From that sales assistant, card deck salesperson, all the way up, I was there for 25 years. They gave me a wonderful career. And in 2005, I was running their technology events program. And we did a lot of events in New Orleans. That was the place in like 90s and early, 2000 to have a great technology conference. So we had conferences at the Sheraton on Canal Street for many years. And we were actually there in August, and a week later, in 2005, Hurricane Katrina hit. And those people were like our family. We were so tied to the city of New Orleans and going back there every year so we had an opportunity to go back the next August, and we wanted to do something for the community and our friends that were there. I just felt this burning desire to help and give back to the community. So we thought, how could we mobilize this industry? We had 1,000 or more people coming to this conference from the tech industry. How could we leverage them as a big group to do something for good in New Orleans? So we organized a Habitat for Humanity build. We had so many volunteers, we were able to build 2 houses in a weekend. But there were a lot of people that said, you're never going to get it done. You're not going to get, it's bad enough that people travel in our industry and go to conferences for 2 or 3 or 4 nights, but we were asking them to come in on the Friday and work a weekend before the conference. And so people were saying, you're never going to get people to kind of fly in and like spend the weekend. And then we didn't realize it's expensive to do a Habitat for Humanity build. You have to pay for the tools per volunteer, at least $50. We had to bus everybody there. We had to buy food, breakfast, lunch for the day and all. So I think it was going to cost us over $10,000 to do a Habitat for Humanity build. But we reached out to our network and our vendor sponsors. A gentleman at Microsoft at the time was incredibly generous, and he said, we've got the build covered. And we put out on the registration form for the event, if you'd like to come in early to do a Habitat for Humanity build. We had more than we could handle, more than we could manage. And So there was a big group of us that, came in on a Friday night. We were there all day, Saturday, Sunday, working really hard. We got to meet one of the families that was going to move into the home. They had lived in the Ninth Ward. The homes were decimated. I mean, even still a year later, we were driving through the neighborhood and it was so sad. I mean, you could see the water lines. Most of the community was gone. This family had moved to Houston and they were hoping to come back. And they actually came on that Sunday when we had finished their house. And it was so incredibly rewarding to be able to leverage my position, my network, marry my business with, doing good for the community. And it was so rewarding for so many people. It became the charitable arm of our events organization. And I'm really proud that 6 years later, I left CMP to join CompTIA, and Channel at Work is still going on. And every time they have their big annual conference, people fly in the weekend before, and there's just a list now of, we have done school makeovers where we have outfitted schools that had no technology. Teachers didn't even have laptops. And we built computer labs and we gave all the teachers computers, or we brought in AV equipment, all the vendors that were sponsoring. So AMD, Samsung, Cisco, Intel, Microsoft, all these great vendors. We leveraged our relationship with them and they donated product and they volunteered their time. And so, so Channel at Work and being able to leverage and mobilize this tech community to do good. I'm really proud of that. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. And I love how you mentioned how rewarding it is to give back and to, volunteer your time and service to others. That's something that I've noticed and experienced. I volunteer as well. And it is so rewarding when you're doing something selflessly without any kind of expectation for, an outcome or acknowledgement or, anything of that nature, and just serving others just for the sake of doing good.
Yeah.
And helping somebody else. It's absolutely, like you said, so rewarding. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. In the end, you get so much more out of it than you give. It's just, it's not something you can buy. It's not a feeling that, you can, I can't even put words to it, but I really appreciate the work we did at Channel at Work. And I'm so thankful that the organization has continued it. Yeah. So it just keeps giving and more people have gotten involved. And I'm happy that it was able to help so many people, but I'm happy that the hundreds of volunteers have experienced that, and becomes contagious when you get that feeling and you want to do more of it. And so hopefully they get in their local communities. Yeah,
definitely. Well, Nancy, as women, we juggle a multitude of different things. There's career, family, household responsibilities. Sometimes there's illnesses and caregiving. How do you maintain a work-life balance? And what do you think that employers could do to be more supportive of that balance?
Yeah, so I said a long time ago, there's no such thing as work-life balance. It's a work-life blend. It has to be just a blend of your day, right? Where you're just constantly pivoting and changing the focus of your attention. I think it's been a really interesting exercise for everybody, for the employee and the employer, to see how we're all managing through this pandemic. And working from home and managing all that's at home, this is one of the silver linings. I think everybody's become a lot more forgiving and tolerant about how your personal life, does creep into your professional life. There's really no way around that. And we were all exposed now that we're at home. I've done webinars where the dog has bursted in the room, or somebody on camera has their 5-year-old coming in. I'm like, Mommy, where's my blanket? And, but we're all human, right? And I think it's humanized our industry too, and has helped break down a lot of barriers where, we can be honest that we're all going through this, men and women, in trying to kind of keep this blend of all. I'm very fortunate at CompTIA that we have a very flexible workplace culture. Even before the pandemic, everybody was able to work from home. Our headquarters are in Chicago. Even if you lived in Chicago, if it was better for you to work at home, that was okay. And we have a culture that as long as you get your job done, management doesn't really care if you're punching in at 9 and punching out at 5. Some people maybe have to take care of all the kids and they can't really get online and they really don't make themselves available for calls or meetings till 10, but they'll be on till 6. Or sometimes they have to get interrupted from 3 to 4 in the day when the kids come home, but they're back on at 7 and 8 at night. And I think that, as employers, we just have to treat our employees like responsible adults and trust that they're going to get the job done, in the hours that they have, right? So that's one thing I think, and I think we're never going to go back to the full work in the office. Like I'm hearing so many companies are actually shuttering some real estate and now employees are permanently going to work from home. And it's kind of forced something that I think should have happened a long time ago. I know a lot of women weren't able to pursue some of their dream jobs because it required a lot of travel or it required 9 to 5 in an office. And it's kind of silly in an era of technology that you should be able to do the job from home or you should be able to remote into a meeting where you don't have to travel. So I think that's all a good thing. You also have to have a team around you, right? And that includes the kids. So I have one son, but he's part of the team in being successful. And we have parameters on when I'm available and when I'm not, but I'll always be available for an emergency and I'll never apologize for it. But it's just them getting to understand that not being able to find the ham in the refrigerator is not an emergency. Knowing what an emergency is, right? And we've worked that out. But I'm fortunate that I have a good partner, a great husband, that we balance each other very well, travel a lot in my job. My job is really demanding. I don't think he would have been able to have the same kind of job. So he, works for himself. He's self-employed. He's a lot more flexible. And when I was not available, he was. My dad was also a great support system. It takes a village, right? But I also, some women may not be married. I have a best friend that in some ways is just as good of a partner for me as my husband, right? So I have a 87-year-old mom, and my father passed away, and I am really her primary. She still lives alone, thank God, but she needs a lot of help and support. And I'm trying to get her the COVID vaccine desperately. And in New York, you basically have to be refreshing that website all day long to get an appointment. It's a full-time job trying to get a vaccine appointment. And my friend Louisa said, I've got it. She's not working right now. She's like, give me that. I'll get your mom an appointment, right? So having this network of friends that support you too is so important. It doesn't have to be a spouse. If you're, you build good friendships, and I'm there for her, on things that she needs, and things that I can provide. So you have to be there for people as much as they're there for you, but nobody can do it alone. So you just have to communicate your needs to your network and ask for help. Yeah.
Excellent. And I think that's something that's hard for a lot of us is to overcome that barrier of actually asking for help when we need it.
Yeah.
But it's so powerful once we do ask, because then it's like this burden is lifted off of us and we're more easily able to manage everything that's in front of us. And we don't feel so alone and isolated and feel like we have to do everything all by ourselves, that we do have this network that cares about us and wants us to succeed and wants us to be fulfilled and is there when we need it. So I'm really glad that you shared that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Nancy, as a woman, how would you define success for yourself? And do you have any tips or habits that help you to be successful or to feel successful?
Yeah. So I think I alluded to that before. Success for me is adding value, always growing, always learning, and always adding value. And long time ago, one of my managers, when I was in sales, and it took me a long time to realize I shouldn't be in sales because, and I'll share this publicly, I'm not motivated by money. I'm not like, maybe I'm a competitive person, but like when it comes to sales, I don't have to have the biggest number and I'm not motivated by money. But I was good in sales because I like relationships and all. But this sales manager asked each of us on the team, what motivates you? And there were 10 items on the list, and it'd be money, opportunity for promotion, working in a position you like and you're passionate about, flexible working hours, helping others to be successful, learning more about the industry, all these things. And I looked at it and I realized what motivates me is helping others be successful. And as a manager, and as I grow in my title and the size of my team, I feel more successful that I am mentoring and coaching and having a positive impact on more people. And the people that work for me might tell you like, oh, geez, it's kind of tough because Nancy will push you through your comfort zone. I had somebody on my team that was so capable and strong but scared to death of public speaking, just scared to death of it. And it was holding her back. Like she was never going to get to be a manager or be taken seriously in the company or gain her visibility until she got past that fear. And she's like, well, I'm never going to do it. So I'm just going to be an inside salesperson and I'm never getting out there. And I'm like, no, you're going to do it. And one of our conferences, she'd sold a very big sponsorship to IBM. And I said, well, now you're going to introduce the executive that bought that sponsorship, like they got to go on stage and do a keynote, and you sold that and you're going to announce that executive. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to like run and hide in the bathroom. And I kind of was like, okay, I want you to do it. I want you to be prepared. But if you cave in the end, I'll do it. But just as like, we were quieting everybody down and the curtains are going up, the voice of God said, ladies and gentlemen, well, this was the gal on my team. And she looked at me like, I'm going to kill you. And she had to walk up on the stage and all she had to do is really read, I'd like to introduce the, executive, and that's about all she said. I'd like to introduce this executive. Thank you very much. And she got off the stage and she went right into the ladies' room and I followed her and she's like, I think I'm going to be so sick. And I'm like, you did it. It's done. You did the first one and now you want to do it better and I'm going to give you another opportunity. And it's so funny. She said, well, exactly. I could have done it better. I want to do it better. I want to have another chance. Right. And like just worked with her to get, past that and through that. And that was so rewarding to me, to see her grow and build some confidence in herself. And I, 35 years now, I've had a career in tech and I've managed a lot of people. And every time I promote somebody or every time, they get up in front of the company and do a presentation or every time they have a whatever win it is, and that is so fulfilling to me. Like that honestly is what motivates me. So for those where that motivates you, I'm very invested in the people I work with. And I am always available. I make sure to reach out. If it's been a while since I've had a one-on-one with somebody, I make sure to do that and ask how they're doing. And, I invest a lot of my time in people. And that also pays back in your career in spades when you have a network of people that have trust in you and, you've given them opportunity and they're always there for you when you need them too. So I'm just very genuine and invested and committed to every day making connections with people. Even, if we hire somebody entry level, I want to be part of the interviewing process. I want to be part of the onboarding process. I always say I'm kind of an accidental executive and I still, am a team member, with everybody else. I just make myself really available as much as I can.
That's wonderful. And I love the example you shared with your employee and pushing her outside of her comfort zone with the public speaking. That's something early on in my career I struggled with as well. I remember when I was in college, I took a public speaking class. And when I was forced to get up in front of the class and give a presentation, I remember my professor writing notes for my review of the presentation saying, you need to breathe
Yeah.
because I would stop breathing. And so my voice would get higher and higher and higher because I wasn't breathing. And so her remarks were, you need to breathe.
Yeah, I mean, public speaking is one of the greatest fears of any human being. I think it's like one of the, in some studies, they say there's a greater fear of public speaking than death. I mean, everybody's afraid of public speaking. I believe it or not, still am not that comfortable with it. This one-on-one, and we're on Zoom and I can't see the audience. Okay. But like even walking out on a big stage, it's really daunting.
But like you said that your employee shared, she wanted the next time to be better. And so that was something that I experienced as well, is I didn't want to be the person that my voice continually got higher and higher. Like I wanted to be, more natural and more comfortable with it. And that required getting outside of my comfort zone and continuing to practice and put myself in those positions that forced me to do just that. I don't know that I'm totally comfortable with public speaking now, but I'm definitely much more comfortable than when I first started.
And it's
out.
also okay to own that. Like that's a very real thing. I don't think any of us will like really ever completely. I watch some people that you can tell are so confident. Oh my gosh, like how do they do that? Sometimes, I always tell people if you're nervous or scared, like it just means that you so badly want to do well, and you do care about what people are going to think. But I also say, like even my son, he's got public speaking requirements in his college classes, and he's like, oh, I'm going to drop that class. I'm not taking that class.
Do that.
I'm like, like everybody feels the same way. And I promise you, they're not going to remember the fact that Shantae didn't breathe in that presentation. Like they're probably not even paying as much attention as we want them to, It's just us, we're our own, worst critics. And if you really are uncomfortable with public speaking, don't put yourself in a role where you have to do it every time. But, if there's an opportunity to do it, just do it. I always feel there's a saying that's like, I'd rather attempt to do something great and fail than attempt to do nothing at all and succeed. And it's so true. I mean, it's just like better to put yourself out there and try every time.
So Nancy, take a moment now and reflect on something that you wish you would have known sooner in life and share that with us.
Oh, wow. Shantae, I think I have to go back to, and I don't know if I fully learned that lesson the first time, that not everybody has your best interests at heart all the time. And I guess I think maybe what I would share is that not every organizational culture is the same, and corporate culture is really important. So I think I stayed in some jobs longer than I probably should have, because actually that culture, was reinforcing that you were lucky to have that job, and that you didn't have as much voice as you were entitled to. And when I came to CompTIA, and the corporate culture that is set there, I'm like, what is going on? Like I was just in an environment that like encouraged creative thinking, encouraged you to be different, was very inclusive. I was a senior vice president when I joined CompTIA, and I thought, well, I've already had a pretty long career, like 30 years or so. And I cannot tell you how much I've learned and grown in the past 10 years. I didn't think I had that much growing to do, but I was put in an environment, in a culture that respected their employees, trusted their employees, allowed you to make mistakes, encouraged you to take risk and make mistakes, and just a really safe environment. So, my advice would be anybody that's out there in like kind of a toxic culture and it, and it's not letting you be your authentic self, and it's not letting you grow, like it's okay to leave. Like I was saying before, if you can't change the people, change the people. Like, you can't fix everything. We can't control everything. I think sometimes I stayed in a position with a team or manager longer than I should have because I thought I could make a difference, or I thought I could change it or make it better, but I was unhappy. So I think I would say to my younger self, like, trust your gut. Like when you're not feeling comfortable and you're not feeling happy or satisfied, it's okay to find another, environment or place for you. And I know like that's, I don't want to simplify that because for some people, it's not that easy to find another job. Like right now in the pandemic, it's very difficult, so try to make the best of it, don't take it all to heart. And like when you have an opportunity, pursue it, and even always be planning for, what else, always be looking like, what else could I be doing? What other opportunities are out there? Like, don't feel like you just have to be thankful for what you have and like stick with it, just always allow yourself to move. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I think that kind of went into the answer for my next question, which was, what advice would you give to young women beginning their careers? Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, so first and foremost, make sure you're passionate about what you're doing. It's really important that you're not, if you want to build a good career, you have to really care about what you're doing, otherwise it's just going to be a job, right? So make sure you're following your passion and that it's rewarding for you and that you enjoy it. And then I would just say after that, be visible, be present, volunteer for things. And I got some great advice, as I was building my career from people like be the first one in the office, be the last one to leave, be the first one to volunteer for a project. When you're sitting in that meeting, contribute, and I know, when people are younger in their entry level, they're so overwhelmed by the conversation inside a meeting, but you have something intelligent to say and you're just sitting there burning, like wanting to say it. And you're like afraid, like, what if I say something wrong? Or what if somebody said this before or whatever? And back to what I said, it's so much better to say something, even if it's not 100% right, or than say nothing at all, right? So build your presence and find your voice and breathe. It's a really, just don't take it all so seriously. We're all like human beings. But I say to people all the time, like on my team too, like, build your brand, what do you want to be known for? And build your brand with your actions and your activities. And I hope when people think about Nancy Hammervik, they think like, she's a good person. She's a kind person. She's passionate. A lot of people will say I'm passionate. When I talk about my job, I think passion might be my brand, so just decide like, what do you want to be like kind of known for, and like build your brand in your activities and actions every day. I mean, some people want to be conscientious. Some people want, and I'm not that person where you're going to give me a project and every number and every letter is going to be exact and precise, but if that's what you want to contribute and you're better off quiet, but doing great project management or whatever, just whatever you are, be a really good one, and be authentic to yourself and build your brand.
I love it. And I love how you mentioned, not being afraid to speak up in meetings. We had a previous guest say something similar, and she said, they didn't hire you to just sit there and not say anything.
Right.
They hired you for your contribution, for your contributions to the project or the work that you're doing for the company. So they want to hear from you.
Right.
So I love that you shared that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Nancy, if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, how would they get in touch with you?
Yeah. So I am Nancy Hammervik, and it's Vik like Viking, the Norwegian heritage. So there's no C in that. So Nancy Hammervik on LinkedIn, or nhammervik@comptia.org. And I would love to connect with anybody out there.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Nancy. It has been an absolute privilege speaking with you. Thank you again so much for taking the time.
You too. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks so much, Shanti.
On Technology Partners wants to thank you for joining us on this episode of Women STaRs. If you would like to appear on a future podcast episode, or if you'd like to nominate a businesswoman to be interviewed for Women STaRs, please email stars@ontechpartners.com. My name is Shanti Harkness. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for joining us on today's journey. Remember, you are all women stars. If you wish to learn more about our Women STaRs program or want to be a guest on our show, contact us at stars@ontechpartners.com. And thank you to On Technology Partners for helping me make this program a reality. Remember, we at On Technology Partners want to help you protect your team from hackers. To learn more about our cybersecurity services, go to ontechnologypartners.com.